Tonight, no more masks, except on planes, trains, and buses, and some other places. The new CDC guidance for fully vaccinated Americans.
And
the CBN News crew hit the ground when we heard the red alert alarm.
The violence in Israel escalating into war.
We heard the red alert called Save a Dome. We had to stop the car, get out, and just lay on the ground.
The buildup of tanks, troops, and equipment along the Israeli border.
Plus, the pipeline back online. So why are Americans on the East Coast still coming up empty at the pump? All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
No more masks for fully vaccinated Americans, at least in most settings. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. I'm Jenna Bratter.
Good evening. I'm John Jessup. Could the updated guidance on masks push people who are reluctant to finally get a COVID vaccine?
Still a lot of questions tonight following the CDC's announcement, like what it means when we walk into a grocery store or a coffee shop. And what about work, schools? CBN News senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener has our top story. Tara?
Well, and just like that, John and Jenna, there is more potential for confusion now. After saying folks need to remain masked for so long, the CDC says they do not, at least not always. Unfortunately, it's another chance for criticism or for the decision to be ignored, even though the agency insists this is based on science.
I can breathe again.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's what everyone was waiting to hear.
After more than a year of making Americans mask up,
the president informed us that the CDC was going to make this announcement about if you're fully vaxxed, you don't need a mask. And so we all looked at each other and he went, whoop, and so did we. We took all of our masks off.
The CDC says those who are fully vaccinated can now ditch them too at most indoor venues.
It's a great milestone, a great day.
Including full capacity worship services. Unvaccinated people will still have to wear masks indoors, including children.
I want people to know that COVID-19 can kill you, but we have a vaccine out there that could possibly save your life. And if you wait, it can be too late.
Shot or no shot, the guidance still calls for masks on buses, planes, hospitals, and prisons.
I feel like a sense of freedom right now.
I've already planned a mask burning party.
Despite relaxed rules, companies like Kroger, Home Depot, and others have no plans to lift theirs. Half of the country's governors, most of them Republicans, have already lifted mask mandates in some form. But the news is being met with caution in a number of blue states, including Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Virginia, where governors say they are taking the new guidance under advisement before adopting it.
This country is not homogeneous. It's not uniform. There are some areas in this country that still have more disease than others.
As for schools, many hope to have kids back in person full-time come fall. One of the nation's largest teachers' unions is agreeing to follow the new CDC guidance.
You have to make sure everybody's vaccinated, and you also have to make sure everybody's comfortable with it.
And the other big question remains, how and will people have to prove they're vaccinated, and who is responsible for checking? John and Jenna?
All right, thank you, Tara. Well, for the first time since 2024, Israeli troops are amassing on the border with Gaza, preparing to invade to stop the constant barrage of rockets from Hamas and other militant groups.
The rocket attacks have put millions of Israelis in harm's way. CBN's Chris Mitchell traveled to the Jewish communities under fire near the border to bring us this first-hand report.
This video shows the buildup of tanks, troops, and equipment along Israel's border with Gaza. Israel has called up thousands of reservists for what many here believe could be a ground invasion into Gaza after days of constant rocket fire.
And we are prepared for any potential scenario as the military, and additional guidance we'll get from the political level. But we'll do whatever is necessary, whatever we can do to make sure that people can sleep in their homes and that what you're seeing here doesn't happen.
Since Monday, Hamas and other Palestinian terror groups from the Gaza Strip, about 2 miles behind me, have fired around 2,000 rockets into southern and central Israel. But it's becoming clear Israel is not just fighting these Palestinian groups, but the one who funds, arms, and supports them, the Islamic Republic of Iran. This is a Palestinian Islamic Jihad official boasting of its relationship with Iran.
The Mujahideen in Gaza and in Lebanon use Iranian weapons to strike the Zionists. We buy our weapons with Iranian money. An important part of our activity is under the supervision of Iranian experts. I'm not sorry. I'm proud to say that the rockets that are used to pound Tel Aviv have an Iranian signature on them, the signature of Qasem Soleimani.
With Iran's support for the terrorists, more than 1 million Israelis are living under the threat of rockets falling at any moment.
Put it in park, put it in park.
This is the town of Ofakim near the border. Our CBN News crew hit the ground when we heard the red alert alarm.
Well, that's what it's like for Israelis down here in southern Israel. We're in a town called Ofakim. We heard the red alert called Seva Adom. We had to stop the car, get out, and just lay on the ground. That's what Israelis have been doing for several days now, and maybe several more, depending on what happens inside the Gaza Strip.
Moments later, the siren sounded again, and this time we joined Israelis rushing for the nearest bomb shelter. Naama Gigi shared what life is like with this constant threat.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. I'm live here, but I'm working near to Gaza, Israel-Gaza border, and then there we have 10 seconds. So I remember a year ago, 2 years ago actually, when siren was on, and we just took babies and ran inside the bomb shelter, and you don't have time to think.
With no sign that Hamas and other terror groups are willing to stop the rocket fire, it appears Israel is now willing to put boots on the ground to end this conflict and keep Israelis out of bomb shelters. Chris Mitchell from Israeli communities in southern Israel near the Gaza border.
All right, another excellent report from Chris. Thank you. Well, as the violence in Israel heats up, two influential religious leaders, a rabbi and an evangelical leader, are warning progressive Americans to watch out for anti-Semitism. In a Newsweek op-ed, co-authors Rabbi Abraham Cooper and Johnny Moore sending this caution. We ignore at our own risk the high-profile anti-Semitism emanating from the self-anointed gatekeepers of the progressive left, increasingly on display during these bloody days in the Holy Land. And adding, the seeds of still more anti-Semitism are in the U.S. and have been planted, including by some very influential progressives.
Well, joining us now is one of the writers of that op-ed, Rabbi Abraham Cooper, Associate Dean of the Simon Wiesenthal Center in L.A. Rabbi, great to have you here. Can I ask first off, what prompted you to co-author that opinion piece with Johnny Moore?
Well, first of all, Johnny Moore and I are friends. The Simon Wiesenthal Center bestowed its highest honor on him some years ago for his work in helping to save endangered Christians in Iraq and resettle them in Slovenia. And since then, we've been close friends, co-authored a book on the situation in Nigeria after the two of us spent some time together in Abuja debriefing Christians who survived Islamist terrorist attacks in that nation. So, first of all, we're friends. Secondly, he's a Zionist, a lover of Israel, and someone who I think is an astute observer of the situation here in America and abroad. And I think what brought us together for this particular piece, in a couple of points, it's just so much news coming out in the 24-hour circles, you have to think about the implications right here in America. You have influential members of the Squad who've now pivoted from talking about, well, we need a two-state solution, et cetera, and America should force Israel to do X, Y, and Z, to embracing and promoting the talking points of a terrorist organization, Hamas, and then attacking President Biden for saying the obvious, that Israel has a right to defend herself. Secondly, the Iranians openly are celebrating the fact that their surrogates in Gaza, in southern Lebanon, and now in Syria are doing their bidding. And that they fund all of it. And I think, obviously, the United States of America has to basically take its attaché cases from Vienna and leave the negotiating table with the Iranians, because the end game for that is to give Iran and the Revolutionary Guard billions more to continue to keep the this cauldron, erupting perhaps into a regional war. Let's remember that just a few months ago we were celebrating the Abrahamic Accords, in which you have now Arab countries, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Morocco, even Sudan. There is a rush for normalization between the children of Abraham, and this is meant by Iran to derail it. The American taxpayer shouldn't be paying any of this.
Rabbi, just a few seconds left here, but what can be done to tone down some of the rhetoric? You had mentioned the squad, and particularly with our lawmakers.
Well, I think that the rhetoric on social media never stops. It's a 24/7 and has terrible influences on young people around the world and in our own neighborhoods. This is really, I think, where parents and even and especially faith leaders of all faiths need to speak directly to this issue. And Sunday night we'll be having the anniversary of Shavuot, our holiday, that celebrates the Ten Commandments. That's what we should all be pushing, the Ten Commandments.
All right. Rabbi Abraham Cooper, we thank you so much for going and joining us on the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, the Biden administration is restructuring the State Department's focus on religious freedom, calling it a nested human right, meaning it exists in codependence with other human rights.
Yeah, that's different from the State Department's views under former President Trump, which held religious freedom at the top of the hierarchy of human rights. Today, CBN White House correspondent Eric Phillips asked White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki about the change.
Secretary Blinken said that religious freedom is no more or no less important than any other human right. Why should the faith community not see that as a de-emphasis when the previous administration made religious freedom a top priority?
Religious freedom, what he was saying is it's incredibly important around the world, and we're going to work to protect that. And I think our U.S. policies convey that. But as is the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, and the role of the State Department when they put out this report is, and any report, is certainly to convey what our values are from the United States and what we're going to convey as we engage diplomatically around the world.
Our Eric Phillips at a maskless White House press briefing. Well, coming up, America's largest pipeline back online. So why are gas stations on the East Coast running on empty and prices surging? We explain next.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome Welcome back. Well, even though the Colonial Pipeline is back up and running, many states are still suffering from severe gas shortages. While semi-trucks are filling up at facilities like this one in North Carolina, which was hit by that cyber attack, it will still take some time for gas stations to get gas. The shortage could last for days. The average price of gas now topping $3 a gallon. And now new reports say Colonial paid the cyber hackers the $5 million ransom they demanded.
Well, here with us now is Patrick DeHaan. He is the head of petroleum analysis at Gas Buddy. Patrick, welcome to Faith Nation. You know, we saw people in that piece as far as Florida stockpiling gas, in other places filling up plastic bags with gasoline. Patrick, what accounts for the fear of no gasoline, and what advice would you give to convince people they shouldn't hoard?
Well, I think what accounts for it is the fact that Americans are so reliant on it for our daily lives. And with the economy, things improving, us getting back to school and work, we have more of a need for it than we do in the last year. And so Americans hear of some outage or issue that develops, and they have this reaction. Whether it's anywhere in the supply chain, I think the immediate reaction that they have is to go out and immediately stockpile gasoline. So the challenge is getting control of that. The good news is that things are starting to improve. We are seeing outages decline across the country. We had about 16,500 outages.
All right, that was Patrick DeHaan of Gas Buddy. And we will try to get him back online, but stick with us. We're going to take a quick break. Up next, meet the new boss. The GOP picks a new conference leader in the wake of the party's rift over former President Trump.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears. Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
Well, welcome back. A change of leadership in Congress. New York Representative Elise Stefanik is the newly minted chairwoman of the House Republican Conference following the ouster, of course, of Liz Cheney over her criticism over former President Trump. Stefanik has been a dependable Trump defender.
So without further ado, let me just introduce you to our new Republican Conference Chair, Elise Stefanik of New York.
Great. Thanks, Mike. My focus is on unity because that's what the American people and that's what our voters deserve.
Stefanik, thanking President Trump for his support, said the former president is a critical part of the Republican Party. In her new role as the third most powerful member of the House GOP, Stefanik vows to counter what she calls the radical socialist policies of President Biden. Well, joining us now is Julia Manchester, political reporter with The Hill. Julia, if it's Friday, it's Faith Nation's Friday Faith Political Panel, and we've got you, of course. It is official, Julia. Stefanik is in, Cheney's out. Today, Cheney did an interview with a New Hampshire radio station and didn't rule out a 2024 presidential bid. Julia, is she setting herself up for a possible White House run?
You know, whenever a candidate or whenever a lawmaker or political figure goes to New Hampshire or Iowa, I think all of our ears perk up in the political world. And I think it's very possible. Or it's that she's setting herself up to be a presence in those states so she could support someone who she feels would be a good candidate going forward, someone in the Republican primary, that is, who would be an anti-Trump figure. So I could see both of those factors being true.
Julia, to that point, do you think Liz Cheney is kind of tapping into something here, you know, closet anti-Trumpers almost, where they might be afraid to actually publicly voice their disapproval of the former president, but they'll also not support him in another election? What's your sense?
You know, that's very interesting, Jenna, because going back to 2015 and 2016 during that initial Republican primary, it was flipped. So there were closeted pro-Trumpers who are afraid to voice their support for the president. And now you are seeing that a lot of these Trump voters feel very emboldened to speak, you know, in favor of the former president, really talking strongly about economic issues and such. You know, she could very well be tapping into that, but it's hard to see that because we've seen there has been a portion of the party, the Never Trump portion of the party, that really tried to galvanize itself during the 2016 election in the first parts of the Trump administration, but it almost flopped. We saw that President Trump simply had such a strengthening or very firm grip on the Republican Party, and he is able to have maintained that since he left office. So I feel that she is probably trying to galvanize maybe more moderate voters, swing voters who were, you know, maybe right-leaning but didn't want to vote for Trump and didn't want to vote for Biden either.
Julia, this week there's been talk about 100 Republicans or so forming a new party. These are Republicans who don't support former President Trump. Do you think that'll take hold?
I don't, but I don't want to. You never want to say never. At the same time, though, like I said before, we've seen these Never Trump movements kind of spike up, but they haven't really had much longevity to them. And I think it shows, once again, that President Trump has a firm grip on the party, and also that Republican voters are happy with the former president, or at least happy with the policies he enacted. You know, you only have to go down the ballot to really see this. And what you've seen in a lot of these House districts, and I think this is why so many people, lawmakers, voted to oust Liz Cheney, and that there was so much vocal support for ousting her. I think a lot of these House lawmakers realize that President Trump is popular in their districts, and if they publicly go against them, they risk their own political lives. So, you know, it's very possible that it could form. I just don't know how long it would last, or even if it would last with President Trump at the helm of the Republican Party, with the RNC being as popular as it is. One thing I'd also like to note is, you know, even though President Trump lost the White House, Republicans did not do that badly down ballot. They won in a number of state House and state Senate races across the country. They gained seats in the House of Representatives, really narrowing that majority. And they also, in the Senate, defended a number of seats when we were talking about a potential blue wave happening in the Senate. And that was all with President Trump at the top of the ticket. Now, that didn't work out so well for them out in Georgia, but I think right now the Republican Party, where it is, they want to continue this trend.
Julia, there was other news that was coming out of Capitol Hill today. House Democrats and Republicans have finally reached a deal to establish a commission to investigate the Capitol assault. Cheney, of course, was at odds with her fellow House GOP leaders on limiting the scope of that investigation. Julia, what do you anticipate the commission will find, and could this potentially hurt former President Trump if he seeks a re-election bid?
It very well could. Look, you're seeing a lot of comparisons between this commission and the 9/11 commission. I think you are going to continue to hear those comparisons. You know, it's going to be, obviously, Democrats are wanting to be very detailed in this. They want to uncover as much as possible. But what we're going to look out for is what figures like Kevin McCarthy and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, what they do with this commission and how they tackle this issue, because these are figures that were very much critical of President Trump in the immediate days after that insurrection. However, now they very much defend him when it comes to that attack on the Capitol. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they go in.
Yeah, we will see. All right, Julia Manchester, it's always great to have you with us on these Fridays. And thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks, Julia. Coming up, the $25 million search is on. The case of the missing winning ticket.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Finally tonight, laundered money. The mystery woman who claims she bought a $26 million winning lottery ticket says she lost it in the laundry.
Just horrible. According to LA's KTLA, the manager of a California gas station says surveillance video shows the woman actually purchasing the winning ticket 6 months ago. The unlucky winner, described as a woman in her 40s, reportedly bought the ticket and put it in her pocket before putting the piece of paper worth millions of dollars in the wash. A copy of the surveillance video was turned over to California lottery officials, who say it's not enough evidence to verify a winning Super Lotto Plus ticket. However, Jenna, it might be good news for California's public schools, which could see a one-time payout of $19.7 million in the case of an unclaimed ticket.
Yeah, they're rejoicing tonight. Oh my goodness, though, can you imagine being that woman? I mean, how many times have you had something in your pocket and you accidentally threw that piece of clothing in the washer?
Just a bummer. Well, thanks for watching. Faith Nation.
Have a great week.